So ever since I put out my first teaser picture with this car on social media, I have been getting that one constant question. Has it been launched? Is it being launched? Well, no, because the idea here is not to present a car that's coming to our market. BMW has a very different intention. It's about gauging more reaction. Now, I will talk more about that. Also the fact that the car has been in the country before, but never on the roads. So that's what I'm hoping to do as well, to see how the car performs out on the road in our kind of chaos too. This isn't therefore a review or a test drive. It's a little bit more than that. And yes, there's a nice special touch. Of course, the signature BMW i color scheme on this particular car, but that's not what I mean. It's that special green license plate. Yes, that's something very new, and maybe we'll start to see more of those, because the government has said now that all electric cars will get green plates.
BMW had showcased the all-new i3s at the 2018 Delhi Auto Expo to gauge market response, readiness and customer reaction. And it's with a view to extend that same experiment that the company has imported a fleet of i3s models into India. Luckily, I've got to be amongst the very first to play guinea pig to that experiment on the road. The BMW i3 first arrived in late 2013 and went on to bag the World Green Car and World Car Design Awards in 2014. It was hailed for its carbon fiber passenger cell glued onto the aluminium chassis and all-electric drivetrain. But the car wasn't well received by customers, and so BMW needed to bring in a major upgrade. That happened in 2017 when we got the 94AH model with 1.5 times the battery capacity, and the driving range increased to nearly 200 kilometers. This suddenly made the i3 a lot more credible, convincing and therefore attractive. That car also went on to bag the World Urban Car of the Year title for 2017. Buoyed by this renewed interest and resultant success, BMW decided to excite further by then bringing us the i3s. Yes, as the name suggests, that is a performance variant. So finally, an all-electric car from BMW that doesn't compromise on the driving range side and also on being a true BMW with sheer driving pleasure on offer. Well, within reason, that is. I first drove the i3s in Portugal in December last year when the car was first given to the international press to test. It was a surprisingly enjoyable drive, and yes, I have to admit, an eye-opener.
I've had the chance to drive the i3 and then the i3s over the past few years several times, and you know, the one thing that strikes you the minute you get into this car and you start driving is it does feel like a different car. That's kind of intentional, because a lot of times buyers of electric cars want to have that sense that, hey, I got myself something so different, statement making, and so they want that little difference, unlike something like a Jaguar I-Pace, which feels more car-like, like regular car-like. So could be a good thing, could be a bad thing.
The i3s is way sportier looking, quirky still though, and with it BMW launched the facelift on the entire i3 range. The car looks edgier and sexier and more muscular now. I had driven the red in Portugal, which looks very, very nice. You can opt for white with blue accents, dark blue, black, a bright blue or grey also. Inside, the car is very sexy. It uses sustainable materials, has that very sexy vibe with its fabric door panels, contoured dash, and those suicide doors at the rear are a nice inviting touch. The touchscreen with the latest BMW iDrive and the instrument cluster screen are impeccably finished. And yes, you can opt for high-end features like a swankier sound system, sunroof, or even smartphone connectivity options.
So what are the changes that BMW has made to go from the i3 to the i3s? Well, better tires for one, relatively speaking, and then of course stiffer dampers, springs and anti-roll bars. Now that has to be taken in context because they aren't active dampers, and so that means that when you do flick it into sport mode, it's not like the ride quality changes dramatically. What does change is, of course, you get a nice stiffer feeling in the steering for sure. Besides that, the car surges forward. There's instant change in the acceleration and throttle response. And on that little screen up front, the driving range suddenly drops.
The i3s gets 14 horses extra power and a 20 Nm booster shot of torque over the regular i3. It also has increased acceleration, as you just saw. The drive modes are Sport, Comfort, Eco Pro, like any BMW, but there's also Eco Pro Plus, which shuts off some comforts like even the air conditioning to give you more range. Luckily, you can still accelerate relatively quickly, but then top speed gets limited to 90 km per hour.
Now, handling and cornering, not quite as sporty as you expect from a BMW, but then this is a BMW i, and from that perspective, you won't be disappointed. It's really the acceleration that's the big takeaway and the fun factor on this car, especially in sport mode. I mean, you just need to tap the thing and it goes. Take your foot off the gas though, and it decelerates quickly enough too, so you get used to that. It's a nice sort of a safe way to drive too.
The car is nimble, agile, and surprisingly fun even in city traffic. And that's the part it's meant to play. In a city like Delhi or Mumbai, even with the mind-numbing traffic congestion and jams, an over 150 kilometers range on a full charge could work out.
Well, I can tell you one of the things you have to get used to right at the very start of any i3 drive here in India, the number of stares you get. Everybody is looking at this car. Now, if BMW was to ever bring such a car to India and you decide you want to buy one, wrap your head around the fact that it will cost you more than 50 or even 60 lakh rupees, because the current i3s in a market like the US, in just pure currency equivalence terms, costs already about 40 lakh rupees. Throw in the duty structure and we're talking about a minimum of about 60 lakhs really. So there's a fair amount of money for such a small car, but one that certainly helps you make that statement that I was talking about. Now, one of the things that BMW could consider if it was going to bring this car in is the two-cylinder range extender. That's of course a little two-cylinder petrol engine that allows you to have a little peace of mind and further driving range, of course, so that you don't have that range anxiety. Is probably not fair, but just the fact that in India we have no infrastructure to charge this thing, yeah, that could be a little bit reassuring for people who were to step into this space.
So should BMW bring the i3s to India? Well, there would be some takers for sure, but it would remain very niche and would need the company to also provide the charging infrastructure to the buyer, at home or at their office, or both. But even in a market like the US, the car is niche, isn't it? So it could be a good way to get some green cred, make some noise, and also have a few of these running about in those big cities, more as a precursor to what's to come perhaps. And for the buyer, it would be a statement-making, attention-grabbing, fun yet expensive urban ride.